Hi, I'm here with Meg Voss, and we're here to talk about working with yoga and yoga therapy for children, mostly for anxiety and self-regulation. Meg has recently completed a course for us on our wellness platform. Meg is a certified yoga therapist and has worked with children for 17 years in this context. So I'm super happy we're doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brad.
Maybe we could just start by talking a little bit about doing yoga with this age group, really, this kind of 7, 8 to 12 before they hit the teen years, and how that's the same or different than grown-ups or little kids.
Yeah, so that's something always to take into consideration with working with children. And I do work with babies all the way up to teenagers in all different kinds of environments. We concentrated this training on 8 to 12-year-olds. So what's great about this age group is they're really capable of following instruction and doing a lot of activities. They're also not sometimes into the rebellion mode as much as you get older. So they are up for a lot of things at this age group and willing to try things and can do more of the yoga at this age. Sometimes like to play, but they sometimes like to be like a little bit more serious. So it's that they're
Mm.
in that in-between stage right now.
And am I correct in that, in terms of like anxiety, for instance, this would be like a prime time not only to have anxiety, especially as they move up to that 12, that's my impression, but also a prime time to learn skills. Is that what you've seen?
What happens with the brain is that it's most flexible the younger you are. So that neuroplasticity is still really available at this time. And learning yoga skills are great kind of preventative skills so that it can have things to do later in life when things do get more stressful, academic pressure gets more, and peer pressure gets more. So this is a really nice time to learn the breathing techniques, movement with the breath techniques, or relaxation techniques when it's not in a crisis.
Yeah.
Although it works in a crisis too, but it would be nice to do it even if it wasn't in a crisis.
Right. Or a bigger crisis, I guess we could
Yeah,
say, because
yeah.
things don't tend to, they keep going into your teenage years often if you don't intervene. So I'm aware that we're in a epidemic, is the word, of childhood anxiety, and there's definitely parents all over the place like looking to figure out what to do with their kids. I know schools are having a really hard time. And it's funny with these practices, right? Because it's kids have anxiety disorders and they need help. And then there's this self-regulation piece. And those aren't the same words, but they go together. So I was just wondering if you had anything to say about that.
I think that for me resonates a little bit when you're talking about schools, is talking into like social emotional learning component of it. And I would say that in the SEL components, that's the self-awareness and the self-regulation are the two areas that kind of yoga can help with greatly. And in that self-awareness, not only does it come with your behavior, but it also comes with your emotions. And yoga is a nice way to tap into that because the more we have emotional literacy, it can talk about our feelings and notice our feelings, and the easier it is to address it when it becomes something that you want to change.
Hmm.
Similarly, with the self-regulation piece, if we can the children can slow themselves down a little bit so they can make thoughtful choices and not impulsive choices, then that also helps keep them a little bit more steady.
And is this, I guess what occurs to me while I'm listening to you is this is what makes yoga different than exercise, for instance, which is also good, obviously, for so many reasons, including anxiety and self-regulation. But yoga is not the same as running.
No, it has a little more of a reflective piece, that interoceptive of noticing things in your body, whether they be your thoughts or your emotions, or noticing where you're feeling something in your body, whether it's tension or whatever it is. So that reflection piece really helps kids learn about themselves a little bit more than if you're just told to go run a mile around the track.
Right.
It is a little bit different.
Okay, so let's do like the down to brass tacks kind of thing. So I'm a parent. I got a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, whatever, and they're very anxious, which is, I think I read we're at like 70% now in this age
It's
group.
very hot.
It's pretty high, like post-COVID. And just for anyone listening, Meg and myself are both parents. So we understand the sort of like household experience of having children with issues, of
For
course.
sure. Yeah.
And so if I'm thinking about my child now, I know part of your work is going into schools and running programs, which is amazing. And that's ideal because then parents, in one way, because parents don't have to do anything and you're there doing it. So that's always helpful. But you built this course with some different types of practices on our wellness platform. And I think if I'm a parent, I'm like, how much would my kid have to do? Like, what would that even look like? Is it a 2 hour yoga class? Is it what is it? What would I want my child to do to help them learn these skills and have less anxiety?
Yeah, so I built this course a little differently than maybe if you were an adult trying to learn something. An adult, you might start something simple and you might layer it in. So there's a progression that goes on. And for children, a lot of times they just want to jump in and do things. So rather than to build it that way, I built this course for kind of a situational experiences for children to give them an access point of something that might be easy to build into a habit during their life or how they're feeling that day. So there's 4 modules. There's one that's about going before going to bed. Sometimes that's a really hard time for children to calm down and settle and not
Hmm.
too worked about what happened that day or what's happening the next. So that could be a good time to be doing it. Talk about dosing or how much later. But I also built one that was for before going to school. A lot of kids have some school phobia and school anxiety. So how to be a little bit grounded and settled and feeling more in your body before you go to school. Then I have just 2 more. There's one that's about overwhelming emotions. And sometimes our mind and our thoughts and our emotions get to be too big, and doing some yoga to right size it, bring it down to where it really is. And the last one is to build resiliency, which is something that's really super important for kids these days because life can be hard. Kids can have hard times, and how to bring that and build off of it and grow from it and not feel defeated by whatever is happening. So I think that this is something that you could do with your child initially. That probably be really helpful for your child to see you committed to the practice and trying to do it with them initially. And then hopefully your child will be able to want to keep doing it on their own. Anytime you're practicing yoga, it's not like a one and done kind of experience. It'd be nice
Yeah.
if you could do one yoga practice and then you're fixed, whatever fixed means. So you're going to have to do this repeatedly. And I think you probably want to do it a couple times a week. 3 to 4 times a week would be the goal I would have as a parent, unless you want to do it daily. And that would be wonderful too if it became part of your ritual before going to bed.
You don't have to do it every day necessarily to learn a skill, which we all know because we've learned skills. And there's not too much like moving around and breathing. I mean, there's you can't overdose.
Yeah. And I guess I should say each module is only 15 to 20 minutes. So it's not going to be your hour and a half long adult yoga class. It's
Right.
already been made a little bit shorter and a little bit more accessible and simple so that kids can tune to it because it should not be tuned the way adults like to learn.
Yeah. And one thing you might not know it as an adult, having even done yoga, but like kids really respond. Like when I've worked with children, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Kids respond very quickly to practices. They just learn, their brains learn things quicker.
Can I
So,
tell a personal story that happened to me
yeah,
yesterday, Brant?
that would
So
be amazing.
I work with children with anxiety many times a week. I have 2 environments I tend to see it a little bit more. One is a mental health hospital. It's inpatient for children and teens for imminent harm to self and others. I'm leading group classes. So most of the kids have anxiety in front of me, 8 classes a week, dealing with that. But this is the other place I work. So I also work at a hospital that's for just a general hospital on the pediatric floor, sometimes in the regular unit, sometimes, and yesterday it was on the ICU for children. And I had a little 5-year-old boy, and he was very anxious. And I go in and I do it right in their room with the parents, and they're in the hospital bed, and they have the IVs and all the things that are going on in the hospital. And this little 5-year-old was having a really hard time with his IV that was put in the back of his hand. It was no longer hooked up to anything. Parents kept saying, "It's okay, you'll get comfortable." Nurse was coming in and saying, "It's okay, you're going to be okay." And he was just not okay.
Yeah.
So he kept referring every like 30 seconds, my hand. So we started to read a story together that was about a monkey that was feeling grumpy. It's actually the grumpy monkey, if anyone's heard of it. And started to talk about feelings and how the monkey was feeling and some of the things the monkey was doing when he was feeling grumpy, and started to ask him if he was feeling any of those feelings. And then we started to talk about the snake in the story. And he just got really down the road into staying present with his emotions and talking to me the emotions. And next thing I know, he's like sitting up, he's looking more alert. He didn't notice his hand anymore. And we're just by exploring and having conversations around the emotions. And then I taught him some breathing techniques, and I taught him some ways that he could say some affirmations. And we made a little mindful beads, but he decided it was a snake. So we used a snake. We did snake breathing with him, all the things he would do with a younger kid, a 5-year-old.
Right.
And he was just like a totally different kid when I left. And I'd say 40 minutes I spent with him. And the staff at the hospital was just so grateful for having gone, for what I did going in there. And
Of course.
so this is some of the, I would say, magic that can happen when kids are able to connect with the material and try the breathing and the moving and start to feel more in their own bodies and not. He was just very fearful. A lot of it was just fear and an unusual
Yeah.
sensation. And then he settled into it.
I'm hearing it's like it's the same as it is for adults, except just the approach is a little different and the time and the length of the practices. And that's a great example, actually, is see like this like giant shift. And now this little kid, right, has this breathing technique, which, and the other thing I've noticed is that when I work with kids is that they'll actually use the stuff. Like it's not like adults where we have to get ourselves to do it. If they learn anything that they like, they will use it. And I'm sure they'll learn many of those things in this course.
Yeah, we do a lot of breathing things. We do movement. We also do some affirmations, like I was just talking about, different ways to relax.
The reason I was so happy you're doing this with us, I didn't mention that Meg also went to the Breathing Deeply Yoga Therapy School, and that's where she's certified from, like all our teachers. But so I've gotten to know Meg, is my point, working with her. And you're a lovely person, but you also bring this giant body of knowledge from just having done so many years with kids. And I just want to say that I'm very hopeful, right, that this course can help some of these kids that are suffering. When I've had suffering children, I know what it feels like. When your child's suffering, you're, what else can I do? And the other thing is Meg's available for private work if that's something that's needed. I mean, you can find her in the platform and hire her, but yoga therapy is not well known enough. I think most parents think of it as like yoga, and they like yoga class, like at the gym, and they don't really understand like the power of it for a young person. So
yeah, I'm not Cosmic Kids doing the entertainment of the Disney theme.
Yeah, which is
targeted to a different type of use of yoga.
And if you're thinking about this, I just really want to encourage you to come explore it with us, see if there's something useful there for your child. And Meg and myself and other yoga therapists are online. If you want to talk to somebody live, a little bit about it and how to implement it with your child, I'm just really excited, you said, to bring this to everybody. So thanks for talking to us.
I always just think the more kids that can learn the material, the more I can be of service. So I'm really hoping to connect and spread my net a little bit wider than the Boston area. So that's what's so beautiful about the wellness platform, is it can reach a little further.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get everybody in the United States and Canada doing yoga therapy with their children, but if not, hopefully many. Thanks for talking with me today. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Brett.